Well, I know when I look at spreadsheets and talk about comic book values, probably not the most exciting video for most people, but I did come to a very interesting discovery. A while ago, I shot my Pareto distribution value for comics. That's the 80-20 rule. So basically, 20% of all comics produced command 80% of the value, which means that 80% of the comics ever made are basically worth the cover price. And I'm calling cover price these days $5 due to inflation. Now, here's a fun little exercise. Let's say, like I said, $5 comics, which is basically today's value. Let's say there's 200 million comics produced since 1938. That's $1 billion worth of comics. Do all 200 million comics, are they all worth $5? Of course not. Some are worth way, way more than $5. Most are actually worth less. So I went and I applied this to my spreadsheet. So I've got like tier 0 is basically worth less than $5. Tier 1, that's the top 20%, are worth 5 to 20. Now, 20% of that 20% are worth $20 to $80. 20% of the 20% of the 20% is tier 3, worth 80 to 300. 20% of 20% of 20% of 20%, which is less than 1%, are worth 320 to 1280. Or is it even less than, yeah, it's less than 1% for sure. So anyway, you keep going, like tier 5 is 1280 to 5120. So tier 6 is basically a $5,000 book to a $20,000 book. Then you've got 20,000 to 81,000 for tier 7. And I'm actually going to talk about a tier 7 book here coming up. But we go all the way to the tier 10, which is the rarest of the rare. The most valuable comic out there. It was a 1.3 million to basically a $21 million book. Are there comics worth 21 million? Not that I know of, but that doesn't mean they can't exist. If you had an Action Comics #1 and a 9.8, guaranteed, yeah, it's going to hit probably 21 million at least. But anyway, that's for another time. There are definitely $1.3 million books out there. What the discovery I made and what I had to ask myself is, what does grade have to do with all this? And does grade follow the 80-20 rule? For example, like, is 20% of the higher grades worth 80% of the whole value? So let's take the first appearance of the Jackal, which is an Amazing Spider-Man 129. Now, most people don't value Amazing Spider-Man 129 because it's the first appearance of the Jackal. They value it because it's the first Punisher appearance. So, but it's also the first appearance of the Jackal. So, which I like the Jackal. What can I say? So anyway, the website comics.gpanalysis.com has this tryout thing, and they'll give you the most recent sales values for Amazing Spider-Man 129 is kind of like a tryout. So I went and I compiled those. Now, there's a lot of different factors that when you get into even CGC sales, like, is the comic book signed? Was it altered? Is it a Mark Jewelers? Is it a pedigree? Was the case damaged? Things like that, right? Which affect the values, especially did Stan Lee sign it, or, is it verified and whatnot. So, a 3.0 without a signature is not the same as a 3.0 with Stan's signatures. But I just took basically the, no signature, no alterations, no Mark Jeweler inserts, anything like that. Just tried to get like the universal values. And even then, you had some weirdos because it just depends on when it was sold. And I tried to take the most recent sales, but in this case, like a 0.5 actually sold for more than a 1. It was $500 versus $400, but that just depends a lot on the time of sale. Even a difference of a couple days, if some news is broke, can elevate a lower grade to a higher sale price. So, but overall, I think we got a pretty good representation of how grades work. So basically, what you'll see here is it follows a 70-30 rule. So basically a 9.0 to a 9.8 commands 70% of the total value, whereas a 0.5 to an 8.5 represents about 30% of the total value, right? So if I had one copy of every grade from 0.5 to 1, 1.52, all the way up to 9.8, if I took the lowest graded 17 comics and put them aside and just donated those to a worthy cause, and I kept the top 5, the 9, 9.2, 9.4, 9.6, 9.8, I'd still have 70% of the total value of the 22. The 9.6 and the 9.8 alone are about 56% of the total value. The 9.8 by itself is 44. So your true money is in that 9.8. So what I did, I went and I plotted the bottom 77%, like the 8.5 to the 5, the 0.5 to the 8.5. And what you'll find is it's pretty close to a linear progression. So for every grade point I have on those, that kind of the lower 77% or the bottom 80, if we're using Pareto, it's pretty close to linear. So it's about $377 per grade point. We'll give you a kind of a rough estimation. So your 5 is worth, almost $2,000. And if I times 5 by 377, it's not exact, but it's pretty close. Same with a 5.5 is worth $19.75. That one actually works pretty much bang on to $377 per point, right? So as you go up, it's a nice linear progression. 8.5 kind of swung a little bit higher, but it's when you get to the 9s, and especially higher than that, it goes way out of whack. So then I took the top 23%, or what represents our top 20% of value here, which is the 9s, and plotted that. Interestingly enough, the 9, 9.2, 9.4, straight linear. Or if you include the 9.6 and the 9.8, they're the bottom of your exponential curve, because the 9.6 started to swing it pretty hard. The 9.8 was way up there. Crazy. So does the grades affect? Are they Pareto as well? Yeah, definitely. It's even in the 9s, like a 9.0, 9.2, 9.4, 9.6, 9.8 total value, the 9.6 and the 9.8 represent 80% of the entire value. So the top 2 of the 5, which I know is 40%, but still, that's a nice 80% value for 2 books versus the bottom 3, which are only worth 20% of the total value of the top 5 grades. What this goes to show you is it's the 9.8. This is all about 9.8s. So I'm not a speculator, but as a speculator, you're buying 9.8s. I mean, 9.6 is a nice, kind of, I like it. Couldn't afford a 9.8, so I got a 9.6. 9.6 ain't bad, but your true money is at 9.8. And I can tell you, as somebody who's now has graded comics, The difference between a 9.6 and a 9.8 is really, really hard to tell from the naked eye. I mean, it's really just a number on the top left-hand corner of the case. To be honest, when it comes to a 9.6 and 9.8, because I had a 9.6 and I'd be hard-pressed to tell you what the defect was with the naked eye, to be honest. So, but again, the value is hugely different. Bottom line, if you ever think, oh, this comic's going to be hot in whenever the movie comes out or the series, or I think this character has legs, they're going to grow, and I'm going to speculate on this, get the 9.8. Bottom line, right? Like, just if you're really committed to it and you really think that this book's going to go up, what's going to go up is the 9.8. Yes, the book itself might go up. Maybe you paid $5 for it, and you get a 9.8. For example, like I bought my Omega Men #3 because it looked really pretty way back when from a dollar bin. I paid $5 for it. That's now an Omega Men #3 9.8, worth about $500. So it's a factor of $100 times, right? I wish all my comics could be like that, but no, I was lucky to find a really good condition on Omega Men #3, whereas I get a 9.4. Still would have been worth money, but the $60 plus the $5, let's say a 9.2 would have broke even. That's the difference, right? So it's the value of I don't know, not quite 10 times my total investment to get it slabbed and graded, 9.8. But if it had come back in 9.2, what the market would pay would basically be $70 for the Omega Men #3 in a 9.2. So that's just your break even. Hugely interesting, hugely. So when they say 9.8 or bust, basically they mean it. That's why so many collectors send in stacks with the 9.8 pre-screen, because they know that's the only way they're going to really make their money is with that 9.8. So anyway, interesting topic. So yes, grade does follow a Pareto distribution. It may not exactly be 80-20 for every single book, but you can definitely see where the 9.6 starts to swing it. The 9.8 is insanity, especially for these higher key books. The less desirable books may not have that big upper swing, but as you get into the true key territory, the 9.8s are where it's at. So anyways, I thought that was cool, and thanks for watching. I know spreadsheets aren't always cool and interesting. In my next one, I will have not so much spec, but books I've been buying that I think are really cool. So anyways, see you next time. Bye-bye.